Welcome, Chris Evans Radio. We are back with little Dave. He would just tell me he has no snow and we have all the ice here in Virginia. And that just means I get to train arms in my basement today and not go out in that. We have supposed to have chiropractor and legs tomorrow, so that should be fun.
Oh, nice. I have arms and chiropractor today.
Oh, I know Angel's like, you need to make sure they're going to be open tomorrow because I've been in the last 6 months, I've been twice and they haven't been there. And
Oh yeah,
because of snow. And
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm just like, fuck it, I'm out. I might as well go to Fresh Market and get some cheap meat and make a trip out of it. So
oh yeah,
I try to remain positive. Clearly, my back didn't need an adjustment that day. I had to do it the next day.
yeah.
So, um, I think piggybacking off of last week's topic of about knowing what levers to pull and when to pull them, meaning you can't always ram food high and expect progress. Like there's some happy ground. And I wanted to kind of follow up a little bit on that topic because I don't want people to get the impression by any means that we're saying eat little calories or go into like a full mini cut. Like that's not what we were after. Um,
Yeah.
I'm talking about,
The
go ahead.
I think that the biggest thing I think we could push into what we were talking about last week is you have to push yourself to be able to pull back.
Yes. Yep.
And that is the most laughable thing right now in our science-based lifting age
Yep.
is we have people scared of fatigue when they're doing 8 sets per exercise, per body part.
Right. Yeah.
And, they're worried about taking deloads when they're using 135 pounds for their bench press. Like you have to, like, everything comes back to like, you have to overreach to be able to build muscle.
Yes.
Like, your body's never going to change from something you've done before,
Correct.
so you have to push that boundary a little bit more every time. And then the further you've gone into pushing that boundary, you know, there's a huge difference between a 18-year-old who's never been in the gym ever when they start lifting and someone like me or you who's been in the gym consecutively for more than a decade.
Right. Yes.
Like our ability to push ourselves is going to be a pretty high, but
Agreed.
also like our ability to recover from that onslaught is not going to be like there's a reason me and you don't train at 3 days in a row
Correct. Yes.
versus I used to do that every fucking week
Agreed.
when I first started lifting.
Yep. And I think what's interesting about that is I, I'm not saying that our population of bodybuilders haven't evolved, expanded mentally, learned more cool new things, but there was no such thing as deloading when I started bodybuilding. Like that was something powerlifters, strongmen did. That was not something bodybuilding did.
Yeah.
And I think the philosophy there was always it was an old Christian Thibodeau quote that I still use to this day is there's no such thing as overtraining, it's under eating and under recovering. And I guess I always thought like, all right, cool, like there's no need for this. And it took me linking up with John to realize that I didn't need to train 6 or 7 days a week, that I could grow really well off of four. And then I'm like, oh, this feels really great. And then after I ran 2 programs with him, which was 24 weeks, he was like, how's your body feel? And I'm like, pretty good. He's like, have you ever done a deload or taken an off week? And I was like, no, I can't remember the last time I did that. He's like, okay, cool, take a full off week, come back, and we'll start the next program. And I was like, huh, that's really cool. I got a lot of work done, and I thought that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And outside, once I learned to get out of my own head and think, oh my word, I'm getting smaller because I'm not training, which is an immature thought process. I was like, huh, there's got to be something to that. So then I started replicating that with my clients that I had in person. Is I would just like, you're taking this week off, or you're going on vacation with your family, don't lift weights. And they're like, huh, that's weird. Because in my mind, I remember being a young kid, and even though I didn't get sick a lot, I just viewed like, oh, if I was sick a week, that was my off week. Like,
100%.
and listen, you and I both know that's not an off week. That is your body fighting like hell to recover from sickness. And that's not going to give you the same benefit as if you and I were cruising along, we're getting ready to start a contest prep. We've been foot on the gas pedal for 6 months, 3 months, and like, hey, let's take a full off week and then we'll come back and we'll get right back at it. And you
No.
actually come back rested, rejuvenated. And to me, it's like even though you be maybe waking up craving the gym on on those days leading into the off week, there's nothing like having a full rest and then how locked in I am mentally. Like I'm craving that shit after like 4 or 5 days off. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't wait for Monday or Sunday to hit. And it's like, oh, that extreme vigor is back. And not that it
Yeah.
was ever truly gone, but it's almost like the absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing, you know?
And that's like I think the biggest reason I like that off week better than a deload is, I mean, we can all understand how a deload works, right? We take, we do 60 to 80% of what you weights you were doing before,
Right.
and you do them for the same amount of reps.
Yeah.
And the thing I hate about that is two things. I don't use a logbook and I don't count reps.
Right.
So what I end up doing is I use lighter weights for failure at higher rep ranges, and I put myself into a bigger recovery hole. I've tried it several times, and yes, obviously, cool. I could go back and be like, cool, let me go grab a lot. I, it's funny, like it's one of those things. It's like I have a logbook. It's just here.
Yes. Yep.
It's not hard for me to remember what weight I used on a bench press
No. No.
or like press. Especially because I grew up in the time and age of if I'm using a leg press, I go up by plates.
Yes.
I ain't doing that fucking shit of I have a plate, a 10, a 5, and a 2.5
Correct.
on a leg press. Like, why the fuck? It doesn't fucking matter.
Uh-uh.
Same thing with in bodybuilding. Like, if you're using a bench press, like, or a machine, like, we're not power lifters, and trying to do micro progressions is hilarious.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
you're just goofing off at this point. Especially,
Yes.
if you had a hammer incline press, you're like, all right, cool. Last week I did 2.5 and I got 15 with it. This week I'm going to try 2.5 and a 2.5 to get 15 with it again.
Right.
Like, what was the point? If you got 2.5 for 15, try 3 for 8,
Right. Yes.
and then use that 8 to build up to 15 again.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
and then rinse and repeat. And it's not going to be the end of the world
Mm.
if you don't always progress because what happens when the reps start looking at, all right, last week I got 8, this week I got 8, this week I got 8. They probably look better
Yes.
or
Yep.
feel better, or you're getting a better connection with it. Your
Yep.
form's better, your tempo's better, and you're just not paying attention to that shit.
Right. Yes.
And then you're getting mad at yourself because, oh man, I'm stuck at, but if you film the first one versus the third time you've done it, it's a completely different stimulus.
Right. Yes.
And then you break through that stimulus, you're like, oh, cool, I got 9 and 10 this week,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know, and you're like, man, I only progressed 2 reps in that 4 week period. But in reality, your form was better, the tempo was better, and you got 2 reps,
Yep.
and you're just mad at yourself because all you saw was the logbook.
Yep. I'm going to do a pretty cool exercise here, and hopefully people will get what I'm after. Dave, what is the most weight you ever use on an adductor machine?
I think 2 plates pinned to it,
Okay. What's the most you've ever done side laterals with?
probably 40s, maybe 50s,
Right. So,
maybe, and they were not pretty. Like, I'm not saying I'm strict forming the 50s. Like, that was, I had, but
what's the most you ever done incline barbell press with?
405.
Okay. The point there is like a golfer, you remember your lifts, right?
Hmm.
I haven't aggressively deadlifted in years, and I can tell you the best set I ever had. And it's still right here. Another cool thing that you and I both do is we have a logbook on our Instagram. I have a logbook of the last 6 years of my training on YouTube. And I can pull up exactly what I was doing 5 years ago today for chest or back or whatever I trained 5 years ago on January 26th. So I think a lot of times like people miss that is like most everyone knows what they did. And if you don't, that's strange to me.
Yeah.
I can still tell you exactly the weights I used the first time I ever trained with John. I know that my memory may be different than others, but if I see it, do it, put my hands on it, I'm pretty damn good with it. So
Hmm.
as you were saying, like, the chronic log bookers, the thing that scare me the most is the depreciation of reps. And what I mean by that is, and I know I've said this before, but I think it's important to reiterate, the quality of the rep in bodybuilding is far superior to the number of reps.
Hmm.
And that's a tough pill for people to swallow,
Yeah.
right? Because I know you've seen this too. There's lots of people who come in the gym and just do really shitty reps, and they're the same size year after year. But I guarantee you, they're beating the logbook. Chris, I'm using 6 plates on a T-bar row in the corner with a barbell. You and I both know it's a fucking shrug and like using quads. Like
Hmm.
it's like low back, quads, traps. Their back didn't get stimulated once. Where if I give you a T-bar and you put 35s and you have maybe 4 of them, 5 of them, maybe 6, and you're bent over and you're fucking crushing your back, that is gonna win 9 times out of 10 over people just sling a weight around for the entirety of their session. You
Yeah.
and I both know this. There is a time to sling weight and there's a time to be precise with it. But there is a common ground between those two where you don't want to be on either of those extremes in my mind. You don't want to be like in a library lifting with like what I would consider like a personal training certification form. That's not putting muscle on anyone. On the other side of that is people who make Branch Warren's form look great.
Hmm.
And this is horrible too, because this is all ego. So
Yeah.
there's in the middle of like really perfect reps for stimulating muscle tissue. It's explosive, it's controlled on the negative, meaning it's explosive on the positive, it's controlled on the negative. And then something I've actually made a video about this week is that first inch before fully lowered and the first inch out of the hole to me is the most important portion of that rep. And so many of you guys and girls out there are missing it because that's the hardest portion.
Hmm.
Because you're using stretch reflex, you're using inertia, all that shit. Like I know sometimes when people watch our videos, you can't see the deliberate effort you and I both have at that position that I'm talking about, that we're talking about this much. But that's the most important portion of that rep, right? All the way down that hack squat is where the magic is. And
Yeah.
a couple inches before the hole and a couple inches out of the hole, if I'm using my lower back momentum, bouncing it off the pegs, does nothing for my quads. But if I lower that bitch controlled, let all that weight sit on my quad sweep and then power up with a quad flex, that's where the money is. But then at the same time, when I say that, people are going to like get all cute with it. You have when I say explode, you have to act like someone's going to hurt you if you don't get out of that hole aggressively.
Yeah.
And
I love that example because a lot of times when I'm coaching someone like a leg press, for example,
yeah,
the biggest thing I see on a leg press is people trying to squeeze the weight up,
right. Yes. Yeah.
and like for leg extensions, I fucking love that.
Agreed.
Right? That is how you don't fuck your knees up on a leg extension.
Yes. Yep.
Is you treat that leg extension like a posing exercise
Okay.
and you don't give a fuck how much weight's on it.
Agreed.
And but leg press, you control that shit to the bottom
Mhm.
and then you just fucking go like all you want to do is straighten your legs. Your quad's job is to straighten your fucking legs.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And if you can think about it more than that, you're not in a top set.
Agreed. Yes. Agreed.
And that's one thing that I think sets so many people back is they forget about how easy like your body's job, your quad's job is to just fucking straighten your leg
Right. Yes.
in that position, right?
Mhm.
And I don't have to think about that.
No. No. Not now, at least.
Yeah, and like it will I if I keep myself in that form, I can just stay there. And that weight will be on my legs and I will have a much better set than if I'm trying to think of, oh man, I'm squeezing this weight into place.
Right. Yeah.
And like I said, there's a learn what exercises that actually applies to
Yeah.
and watch what happens to your physique. Because like I feel like so many people get this backwards because they're just trying to ram the fucking peg down on a leg extension,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, my knees fucking hurt. It's like, all right, cool. Why are you not paying attention to this?
Right. Yes. Yeah. You know, I'll give an example for biceps because I feel like this is where most people can get it. I'm okay with not being hyper precise on a standing dumbbell alternating curl or hammer curl. But when you get it on a dumbbell preacher curl, it's time to focus
Mhm.
because if you're sloppy and aggressive out of that hole, you can tear a bicep. Like it's just a fact. And plus, even though in a standing alternating dumbbell curl is still a single joint exercise, I'm okay if you get a little hip into it at the end. But with that preacher curl, man, that's when we slow it down. That's when we are more precise, so to speak, because not only is that exercise hyper isolation in my mind, but it's also the propensity getting injured goes this way.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's what people just miss, right? Like I don't want you going to shaky failure where you bottom out on a back squat with a bar.
No.
Please don't do that. That is even though it may be temporarily admirable, the probability of you getting hurt doing that week after week is very high, and I do not want
Mhm.
that. I've always felt like barbell squats, deadlifts, 1 to 2 reps in the hole is or in the tank is I'm good with if you're working really hard. And then do a Widowmaker where you ram that to the end. To where if you had to have hit a good morning with 225, I'm probably okay with it. But do I
Yeah.
want that with 4 or 5 plates? Absolutely not. Not even close. Because, and I would also feel safe with you dumping 225 off your back. I don't want you doing that with 5 plates. And that's a little bit of like what I would consider training intelligence. And again, back to exercise selection. So, which leads me into the topic that I messaged you yesterday that I wanted to do. Wasn't even trying to segue, but I did it. All right, so I sent Dave. It was a video of this kid. He had. I'm trying to set the scene here. He's on I think it's a free motion like chest press, like a cable chest press. He's got a mouthpiece. No, it's not. I think it's just a regular dual cable.
Yeah.
He's got a mouthpiece in, two D handles strapped. He's holding on to what appears to be some kind of like shin guard. He's got a wrist cuff on his bicep. Like it is the ultimate, probably rage bait, if I had to guess. And it said RIP bench press. Like stop doing bench press. Essentially, the premise was stop doing bench press. These are better for chest. Of course, he had a gym pin on with like a 2.5 on the stack.
Well, he wasn't even using the whole stack too. He was using the gym pin to add the 2.5.
Yes, yes. And you know, outside of that, just making my insides cringe, I'm thinking to myself, this content has really infested a lot of people's Instagram, right? And Dave Tate pointed out to me, and this was something that I'd never considered. He said, "When have you actually seen someone in a gym doing that?" And the answer was never. Like, oh, you've seen two people? Oh, thank God that I'm not. Yeah, okay. So there are some doing it, obviously, but I would say the vast majority are still mm,
Yeah.
training, right?
There
And
is
then,
an interesting switch I've seen. I mean, like
okay,
when we go down this route,
yeah,
it's like how many people do you see barbell squatting anymore?
very little.
You know?
Yeah,
And it I hate to be like that. Like I don't barbell squat that often.
no,
And that but I didn't start that way.
correct.
You
Yes.
know, and it's funny because like the things get promoted as better. Like
Mhm.
pendulum squats are the best thing you can do for your quads.
Right. Right.
And people just jump immediately to that
Right. Yes. Yeah.
instead of building that foundation first. Like you'd never see anybody be like, all right, if you're just some male, right? They get in the gym, they've never squatted before. They start with, a plate or less, right?
Yep.
And then work their way up to like 3 or 4.
Mhm.
And they're like, all right, well, that's fucking great, you know? And then they go to a pendulum. They
Right.
can actually, they generally know how they can use it really fucking well.
Correct. Yeah.
It might have a little bit of learning curve depending on how they squat, right? Most people are a little hip dominant there.
Yeah.
And the pendulum gets rid of that.
Yes.
But the main thing I'm getting after is it's almost laughable going into a gym and like I what people can do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't bother me. But if you go into a gym and your goal is to build legs and you have a 5 on a pendulum,
Yeah.
it's just what the fuck are you doing?
Agreed. Or do you have like a 25 on the back, but a 45 on the front?
Yeah.
I've always told people this. Like, I was so fortunate the way I got introduced to the weight room when I was in the seventh grade is we would squat. We would squat, deadlift, bench press 3 days a week. And that was the core of our session. And then each day we had different accessory lifts that were with those Monday, Wednesday, Friday workouts. And then the weights that we built up to were all based upon a 1 rep max we established on day one in the weight room and was all a chart progression. So like we knew on Monday that was the max effort squat day. Wednesday was bench press, and then it was deadlifts or hang cleans on Friday, right? And then it was like a percentage base each one of those days. So if we squatted really hard, we would deadlift relatively easy, and we would bench press in the middle, and then those would wave through the week. And we had accessory lifts that we had to complete afterwards. So it forced me to learn how to squat really quickly because I'm like, I got to do this 3 times a week. And you figure we do that all preseason, all in season. We have a little bit of break after the football season was over, and then we were right back into all season training. And I did that from seventh grade until I got into college. And our weight room wasn't impressive. It was power racks, dumbbells, and free weights.
Mhm.
So we didn't have like the fanciest machine we had was like one of those neck machines, the 4-way neck, where you would get on there and you just wear that bitch out.
Yeah.
Right? I think we had one lat pull down like in a CDK bro. Like that outside of that, it was nothing but free weights. So the foundation there of when I got into college and started bodybuilding is like I felt comfortable with a bar on my back, but I'd
Mhm.
never hack squatted before. I'd never done a leg press. And I remember how hard those two exercises were for me because I'd watched my buddies who were bodybuilders who had been bodybuilding through high school. And I'm like, man, he's got, I think at the time he had like 5, 6 plates on a leg press. And I'm like, man, I'm over here struggling with two, and I can squat more than that.
Yeah.
So I always tell people like, and then when I got to John, one of the reasons I really love John's programming is he always kept squats and deadlifts or rack pulls in the plan each
Yeah.
week. And that's what you started on with me was all mountain dog training. So the years early you spent with either a barbell or a yoke bar on your back it was weekly.
Mhm.
So, and you made an incredible point of then now we're able to utilize a hack squat because we have the foundation of a back squat. And I think now that's getting reversed because people are like, oh, well, let's lock in these beginners to a fixed plane and make them just go up and down and work just their quad.
Mhm.
Awesome. I understand that. Logically, that makes some sense. But they also don't know how to utilize their muscle and body in space. They don't know how to lock their abs in because they don't have to.
Yeah.
And because the weight's so light on a hack squat because they're weak, their erectors are useless. Their glutes and that are useless. Where if I made a new guy come in and let's say the progression of a barbell squat on his day one at 18 would be with me a bar 95, 135, 185, and then depending on how 185 looked, would be where we would go for a normal sized dude, right? That is way different than getting on a hack squat. Because he's having to find depth, he's having to find balance on his feet. Like you have to worry about stabilization. And I know people are like, oh, it's bodybuilding. Yeah, you're right. But also having understanding of your body and its biomechanics through space is enormous in my mind for building a foundation of strength and muscle growth. It's the reason why you see guys who maybe would have pressed 5 plates on a hammer strength, but you give them 120-pound dumbbells and they're like this. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Um, and I know you could argue the efficiency of muscle gain, but to me, the best way is to start with the hard basics, learn those, set that as your foundation, and then we begin to sprinkle in additives to the session.
Mhm.
And that is very atypical than what's getting taught now. And even though I understand it from a logic standpoint, injury reduction, that kind of thing, it's wild to me to get a guy in his 20s who's never hard back squatted and I'm like, oh, I now know why your legs are terrible.
Mhm.
Because to me, and I don't know how you feel, you and I are both very upright squatters, but the squat is still a lower body exercise. It's quads, hamstrings, glutes. You could argue like calves, soleus for stabilization. You could argue tibia for getting it in a place. Like, and then like the tightness you have to get through your erectors, your abs, your lats to lock the bar in. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother
the
rabbit
ability to
hole.
brace
Yes.
and know
Yep.
where your hips sit in space
Right. Yes.
is is it's so lost.
Yep.
And the applicate like the fun part is that applies to fucking everything,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
even fucking posing,
Yes. Yep.
like the amount of people like, all right, cool, push your hips forward. They're like, how do I do that? Fuck.
Feel sorry for your wife.
Yeah, like, and and it stems almost from trying to make bodybuilding easy.
Yes.
And that's the fun part is like nowadays we're flip-flopped. We're like, okay, cool. Let's start with these things what you can't fuck up on.
Right. Yeah.
But and then the accessory work gets so much work on it versus starting with things what have a if I'm benching, I'm deadlifting, I'm squatting and possibly shoulder pressing,
Right.
those four exercises are going to have so much overlap.
Yeah. Agreed.
What if I didn't do any accessories? I'd still have a better physique than if I only did accessories.
Agreed. Yes.
Like you can't get strong at bench press and have terrible triceps,
Right. Yes.
right? You're it just won't happen,
Right. Yep.
And nowadays we're so focused on like, oh cool, what's this angle of my side lateral? What if I do this cable thing with a cuff versus like, what happened to having shoulders from, like cool. I pulled, I can row this much weight. This is my rear delts. I can push this much weight. That's my front delts. You know, this shoulder press and, you know, has mass on my side delts,
Right. Yep.
you know, and
Yep.
it's one of those things. It's just like you have to do one before the other. I mean, like how you get strong and you're never going to progress like a side lateral like past 40 pounds,
Right. Correct.
you know, but like your ability to progress a press is going to be so much further than that. But nowadays, people are just focused on how can I progress this side lateral? How do I feel it better? How do I make this? It's like that's fantastic,
Yeah.
but why are we skipping the? Like why am I going for the green beans instead of the meat and potatoes?
Right. I'll use chess as an example here. You and I can peg deck fly that Arsenal stack with, I'm gonna say, relative ease, right? I would have no problem with you starting there now. But when you came to me, I don't even want you thinking about that. Like
Mhm.
the fly to me is an accessory after all the hard stuff is done. And what's the hard stuff? Dumbbells and barbells. You can argue if I created the ultimate, say, chest workout for a beginner or not more novice, probably like novice intermediate, it would probably be dumbbell press, barbell press, machine press, and then some kind of fly, your choice. And nine times out of 10, it's going to be a dumbbell fly because I want you to learn to control that through like taking weight away from your body. Now at your is where you are and your strength on pressing, I have zero issue with you pre-exhausting your chest so you don't have to use the 200 or 180 pound dumbbells. That's me protecting you. But you've already acquired the ability to press 405 on the incline, so I'm not stressed about it. Even if you never make it back to it, if your chest is activated full and growing, I'm going to let it ride. Right. And I think
Yeah,
that's
and
what's
there's another back to the logbook,
right.
right? I haven't touched 405 in a hot minute because I'm doing fucking incline barbell for like exercise 3 or 4.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, like if I and it's like, oh man, I'm not progressing because I'm doing 3 plates on this. It's like, well, motherfucker, like you're not fresh,
No,
and
no.
that changes that game a lot.
Yeah.
And like, could I do stupid things to try to like, could I make my rest breaks like 10 minutes
Right.
and bump those numbers up? Sure, but I'm also not bodybuilding at that point.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the problem, I think, with the when you probably look at the chest activation on, say, an EMG reading for a fly, it may be higher statistically. But you and I both know that the people that are doing this test subjects one probably can't feel their chest on a dumbbell press anyways, because they don't have that skill. So I'd like to put you and I on something like that who have total command of our pecs on a barbell press, on an incline press, on a machine press, and then compare it to a fly. And it still may be skewed toward the fly, but I will go to my grave believing that the most I've ever dumbbell flied is 65 pounds, and that's not even a warm-up set for any kind of dumbbell press I've ever done. So make that make sense. Like the answer is it doesn't. And that's a tough pill to swallow because listen, I get it. Sitting back with 65-pound dumbbells doesn't scare me. Sitting back with 150s to 160s do. And I could go back to that. That to me is that's when you're bodybuilding. Heart's racing. Your lifting partner slaps the head of that bench, and you're like, it's go time, motherfucker. And you sit back and it's like, let's see what you're made of. That's what's put that mass that people see on my chest and yours, right? Like the shit that hangs off the bone that's like you don't see a lot of that anymore. And I have to believe it's because you and I's foundation was built with an incline barbell with a dumbbell, either it be flat incline or decline. And then the rest of the chest training all revolved around those two centric exercises. And it led to me saying to you yesterday after sending you that, I said, my initial thought was, man, these dudes are just huge pussies, right? And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, no, like the women are still I see more women squatting, deadlifting, and doing heavy glute bridge and barbell work than I do see dudes doing it.
Yeah.
And if and maybe it's because the content that I get on my feed, all of the women I see promoting fitness right now, it's all like, how much can I glute bridge? How much can I deep squat? What can I pull in RDLs, whether that be a dumbbell or a barbell? And I don't see it as nearly as much from the men's side of things. Like the men's side of things are like they're trying to get cute and find fancy shit. But the female have never shied away from what I would consider the basics of building lean muscle tissue. And that's kind of that led me to like begin to try to think about like, well, why is that? So do you have any theories there of why they've remained steadfast and we're trying to as a population of males are almost trying to outsmart building muscle?
Uh, Honestly, that might come down to pain tolerance.
God,
Females
right.
are always have a higher pain tolerance. I mean, if you've ever trained them, I know you have in person, but like
Yeah.
they know how to push,
Yeah.
and it's not like sometimes it's something that they have to learn a little bit, but most of them, if they're going after their goals, you can push them pretty fucking hard,
Yes.
and they love it.
Yeah.
Versus I can't tell you how many dudes have tapped out doing legs on a hamstring curl,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
and I mean, that might be the mindset of like, that's fucking hard. And that sometimes is the case right now with bodybuilding is, man, that's hard. How can I make that hard not so hard?
Yeah.
They're like, man, unracking 315 on an incline barbell doesn't feel great. What if I did that on what if I did cable flies instead?
Right. Right.
How can I justify this? Oh, there's a study done on elderly people that this cable tension is better than barbell. It's like, do you fall in either one of those populations?
Right.
Are you an 80-year-old fucking senior citizen in a test group?
Yeah.
In an untrained person study?
Yeah.
Like sometimes we just need the I thought it was funny because I mean I just saw that on social media. What's his bucket? The science-based lifter. Um, what's his name?
Jeff
Blonde.
Nippert.
Yeah, he talked about how we need to make science-based lifting a little bit less complicated. So he's finally come full circle, you know. So it's I think we said this, 10 years ago,
Right.
you know, like this shit's not complicated. It's difficult, but it's not complicated,
Right.
and that's what we saw was in that science-based thing is that difficult versus complicated thing
Mhm.
is how can I make this more complicated so it's less difficult? And
Yes.
that never works for bodybuilding.
No.
Like it's laughable to think like, hey man, I'm gonna have a really strong muscular body by working less.
Yeah.
It's one thing like if you take a step back, like, man, that dude has an obscene amount of muscle,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I wonder if he did that fucking easily. You know, that guy has big fucking legs. How I bet he did that doing leg extensions.
Right.
You know, it one of those things like he probably did leg extensions,
Right.
but
Yeah.
like he's probably squatted or hack squatted or leg pressed a fuck ton of things for years,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and that gets. I mean, outside like obviously like you have performance enhancing drugs and you have people who don't use that, but what's the common denominator? The hard work.
Right.
That's what bodybuilding is. It's the showcasing of hard work
Right.
over time
Yep.
paired with like, and that only happens with hard work,
Right. Yeah.
and trying to outsmart the hard work is the funniest thing on the planet
Right.
because cool, there might be a better way to do such and such,
Mhm.
but better rarely means easier,
Yeah.
like we talk about it all the time, like um more isn't better, better is better, that better is more fucking difficult.
Right. Yes.
When it comes to like when we talk about training volume in that sense or anything in that sense,
Right.
whenever we say better, it legitimately means more difficult,
Yes. Yep.
not less.
Right.
So that's where everything's gotten twisted because so many people are like, I want to be a bodybuilder, but I don't want to do X, Y, or Z. People are scared to eat 6 ounces of chicken now because they're like, well, this study shows that I only need zero point 0.3 grams of protein for a pound of lean muscle, in for, and stuff like that. It's like, that's fantastic. Cool. See what happens. But I mean, we know that protein is your friend when it comes to bodybuilding. You get super scientific on this or not, but I have yet to see someone who's fucking jacked and big in my standard,
Right.
right? Who who didn't eat a lot of protein,
Agreed. Right.
you know?
Yep.
Like it's one of those things. It's just like, all right, cool. I mean, you see what manage your digestion for sure. Don't fuck that up.
Right.
But like trying to be like, oh man, this study shows that I only need to have, I want to be 250 pounds, but this study says I only need 125 grams of protein a day,
Right. Yeah.
you know? So I need 500 calories of protein to build an outstandingly wonky physique.
Right.
That's what you're justifying.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I don't I don't think anyone would question if we did let's talk about back here. A standing hammer strength single arm row feels great. I can connect to it, makes my lat cramp, but that's not a heavy ass dumbbell row. And it's significantly harder doing that dumbbell row. My heart rate gets way here and stays there significantly longer. It doesn't require a higher level of intelligence, in my opinion, to realize those two are really good exercises. But if you want to build the most amount of muscle, we need both. It isn't one or the other.
Yeah.
It's, oh, let's do the standing to activate. And then you and I both know the heavier we can pull that dumbbell row with good form, using the majority of our back, not using momentum, the better I'm going to be. The thicker that muscle is going to be, the more dense it's going to hang off the spine, looking different. I want it to be different. I would love for it to be easier.
Yeah.
But you and I fell in love with bodybuilding not because it was easy, because it was challenging. It is hard. It tests you every day. And I think that's where when you try to begin to outsmart this, we have to take a step back. And I think it's hilarious that you see Jeff Nippert backpedaling and now creating, like, you know what? It's his idea. Guys, I'm going to get a rallying call. We should go back to basics.
Yeah.
Hey, you know us dumbass meatheads have been saying that since you guys started this stupid shit? Like, hey, all the science ideas, that's cool. Like, what can we learn from it? But hey, don't forget this like last 50 years of data we have collected that we know works. And that's really hard, I think, for someone like you and I to sit back and just be quiet and be like, not say I told you so,
Yeah.
you know? And it's because that pendulum swung too far and even he sees it now. Because I'm not saying he is the reason for it, but he is the reason these kids begin to take an alternate look at things and they're like, oh, well, Jeff says, look at the studies. Okay, cool, let's look at the studies. Well, not that I've never heard him say rely 100% on the studies. It's kind of like the John approach. What can we learn from that? And what can we learn from the anecdotal evidence that we see happening around us every month, every
Yeah.
year? When you mold those ideas, that's when, to me, true magic happens.
Mhm.
And you can't, I know it's clickbaity and shit, and I fall victim to believing it. Like when I see people saying things like you need to vault exercises or like stop doing these exercises, it always worries me. And shit, even I'm guilty of like making clickbait posts on that. But if you actually watch the video, I just make fun of it. It's like this is just to get your attention and to get people to comment negative shit in the comments, and then I get more views. Like at the end of the day, I don't think there is any wrong way to train if it works for you and you're growing and you're having fun, right? Like, who am
Mhm.
I to sit there and tell you, Dave, you're wrong? Like, you really love shoulder pressing. Like, okay, cool. Shoulder pressing didn't work for me, but it clearly worked for Ronnie and Branch and Jay and everyone who shoulder pressed before me. That's a singular example. The reason I post that is because if you're someone like I was who didn't have delts and all you're doing is shit, man, I was banging 2 to 3 shoulder presses hard every week for years, minimal results. I don't believe it was for nothing. I think that shoulder pressing strength carried over to my chest pressing strength, which allowed me to grow my pecs, also my triceps. So I don't, because a lot of times people are like, oh, do you regret that? But no, I don't ever regret learning how to shoulder press 120-pound dumbbells. Did it give me the cap delt that I was after? No, it didn't.
Yeah.
But it made me learn to continue to work hard. And I always say this
It may have
too.
also built the foundation for your body to be able to do those side laterals.
Correct. Yes.
Because like if you take back that basic, your scapula, you're driving that thing up and that way,
Right. Yep.
which is the same fucking way it has to go for a side lateral
Right.
to adduct your shoulder.
Yes.
Like maybe you needed that strength before you could do that.
Right. Right.
And you might not ever know that,
No. No.
So
No.
it's just like it's laughable to be like, oh man, do you regret that decision? Like, no. Like I remember being stupid and training 14, 15 days a week,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? And like I still look at those fucking fondly. Like I'm like, man, that was a fucking fun time, on Sundays when I was going to the gym 3 times, you know, just because I could.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I know I've told you this. I don't know if I've shared on the podcast. Like when my buddies and I would go in to do chest when we changed to a commercial gym, this is legit the workout. We did incline bar, flat bar, decline barbell. We did the same for dumbbell pressing. Then we went down the back side of the gym, which was all hammer strength press. So it was like flat, incline, decline, wide. Then we would go to the cable machine and do flies, high, middle, low. And then we'd finish with a dumbbell flies, high, middle, low. But man, that was the dumbest shit. We were in there training chest for like 2.5 hours. I don't take it back. It forced me to learn how to do every one of those exercises. And the biggest thing, we were having a blast. And I wasn't drinking alcohol and I wasn't chasing girls. And like to me, it's a win-win. Like it set a foundation of like, hey, you can work really hard at something. Do I think my chest grew off of it? Clearly, no, it didn't. But when I had somebody take me under the wing and show me how to train properly, I was like, in my, you know what I said? I was like, this is easy. And he was like, yeah, you're not doing 20 exercises for chest. And then my next thought was, okay, how can I make these 4 or 5 feel like the 20 did? I learned to work really fucking hard.
Yeah. And that's where where that's a skill, right?
Yeah.
It's a progression. It's one of those things. It's just like if you take someone off the streets, you're like, hey, go match Dave's intensity on this leg press. Good fucking luck. I've done that leg press, you know, 52 times a year for
Right.
fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, I've done it a couple times. Versus like, if you've never used it, like how are you supposed to have that intensity? It's a learned skill,
Yes.
but that skill comes from pushing yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And that's that's where bodybuilding is fun, is
Yeah.
that struggle of making progress. If all I did was, nail my diet 70% and look at weights and I grew, I'd be so fucking done with this sport.
Right. Yeah.
My brain doesn't work like that. I'd be like, this is fucking boring.
Yeah.
I'd probably get into tennis or something shit. Like I know I'd be terrible at,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
if that was the case.
Right.
And I think so many people miss that, you know. Like I have yet to meet anybody who runs marathons because they're easy.
Right. Agreed.
Those guys are fucking crazy in my point of view.
Yes.
I'm like, there's not a single thing. I'd never want to do that for 26 miles, right? I
No.
have a car. I can drive 26 miles if I want to. Like,
Right.
I, you know, and they're looking at me like, why the fuck does this guy not like to run?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's obviously cool. I found something else I like doing.
Right.
But the thing is, they enjoy the process of doing it.
Yes.
And that is forgotten in bodybuilding because so many people are like, oh man, look at this guy. Sam Sulek has this many followers and he's making money by, he's recording his workouts and doing this, but they don't like fucking doing it. That'd be like me being like, man, that marathon runner's making tons of money running the marathon and recording it. I'm going to start recording it while I run, but I hate fucking running.
Right. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it's pretty, like, in that sense, it's pretty fucking easy idea what to do. Is just like, you obviously don't like this,
Right.
you know? Like if the only thing you find fun about going to the gym is recording and posting the Instagram, like be a video producer. Fucking go film someone else's shit.
Right.
If that's fun for you,
Right.
find ways to make it both, right? Make money and have fun for sure. I have nothing against that. But if you hate this, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people what they don't even like bodybuilding and they want to be a bodybuilder. It's like, Jesus Christ, like that is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah. I would, I believe the reason that you and I are successful in the coaching world is one singular reason outside of good customer service. Our passion for this is contagious, right? You
Yeah.
spend time around you and I in a gym, hands on weights, and there is not a singular doubt in anyone's mind that that's where we're supposed to be. And I try to tell people, like, that's not you. One, I feel sorry for you because you haven't found your shit in life, right?
Yeah.
And that's why most people go through the motions in my mind and go half-assed because they're not motivated by the thing they're doing. They're just chasing money or fame. And eventually that gets boring. Like, n no one has to pay me to do bodybuilding. None.
Yeah.
They don't because it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to do it whether it's on the internet or not because I love it. I love training. I love the way it makes me feel. I love leaving the gym winning. Like, it's a rewarding feeling. That's the whole reason I started this shit, and it's the whole reason I'm going to go out that way. Like, and I think that's hard for a lot of people to understand because it's, to go back to like someone like Sam, right? He's the same way. The reason he has that following isn't just because he's the best classic competitor. He's not by a long shot, but he loves what he's doing. And he's just filming along the way. And that's what people are drawn to. And I think most miss that. They're like, oh, he's a young kid and he has a lot of muscle. Yeah, he has a lot of muscle for him. If you look at him compared to others in the IFBB who he's competing against, he has a long ways to go. It's not the reason he's so hyper successful isn't because of his physique yet. Like, because he's just building it, but he's doing it something that he loves and filming it. And that's why he's successful. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people miss that. Now,
Yeah.
he does also have a very good physique. He has a better physique than most people. And that is another point in my mind that like a reason he is successful is because he does have the muscle to back up what he's doing. Where some of these guys and girls that are trying to educate, you need more time under the bar.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another thing is I don't think Sam's trying to educate.
No,
He's just
no,
sharing what he's doing,
right. Yeah, you're
you
right.
know?
Right,
And he's not, he has some things that he's definitely learned and he's sharing. He's like, hey, I like it when I do it this way
right.
because, I feel it differently. But I don't think, I haven't really watched a ton of his videos, but I've never seen him be like, hey, this is how you do shit.
Right.
He's like, I got this chocolate milk. This is the macros, this is my macros for the day. I'm hitting that. Like he's never saying like fucking this is the elixir of life.
Right.
You need
Yes.
this shit. Like he doesn't have a sponsorship with fucking Winder Dairy.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's just him living life.
Right.
Does it work for him? Yeah, sure, for sure. Is he preaching to do it? No. And that's where like it's so sideways because like now like it's laughable because I think it have you seen how many kids are somehow PED educators?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
if I see that in your bio, I would rather see an OnlyFans information in your bio than a PD educator. Like, the amount of judgment I am dropping on you when you're a PD educator and you're 160 pounds on stage, like, it makes me want to take you in the street and beat you with a fork.
Right. Yeah.
Because not only one, are you lying to people?
Right.
You don't know how to do it yourself.
No.
You're just regurgitating something you read on Reddit
Right.
and you're hurting people
Right. Yeah.
for money.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's so see that is another magic of Sam is that he doesn't come from a place of authority, and that's a lot of times like when you see those videos, do this, don't do that. You see the things that tend to do really well on Instagram is like, this is idiotic, do this. And if you're like, say, someone that has a resume of Hani, or you have the physique of Phil Heath, I have a way bigger tendency to want to say, okay, I'm going to tune in and watch this. But if I look and like you said, you don't have the physique yet, like, hey, it's time to shut your mouth and learn. I'm not saying you can't share your ideas, but to come from a place like I know better because I read this PubMed study is a very tough pill for me to swallow. Um, it's I had this a stupid post on Instagram and some dude was like, steroids kill. Dude was enormously fat. And I was like, so does your blood pressure that's high and body fat percentage. Like, come on, bro. Like, we get it. Like, you want to be nasty to someone. And I remember, and as I'm sure you do, what it's like to be on the smaller side of things in this world. And you may have some ideas of what the right way is. But I think you and I were educated enough to know, like, we must bide our time until we belong at that table of conversation. And I know that's not the way of the internet now, and probably never will be again.
Yeah.
But I want to believe that, you know, if someone sees what you and I are doing, they learn from that. And I pray that in the moment, I would never be like what I see portrayed on the internet of like, I'm right, you're wrong. It's like, okay, cool. Like, in my heart, if someone came to me and said, Chris, like, I want to fix my legs, I know that I can do that for 99.9% of people if you just listen. But I'm not gonna like seek you out in a squat rack and be like, Dave, your squat is shit. Let me fix it. That's a big difference. Or if you came up to me and was like, hey man, like I really want to fix my legs. Like, are you be willing to help me? Hell yeah. What are you doing now? What's worked? What's not worked? What hurts you? What doesn't hurt you? And let's try to fix it. Can I see you leg press? Can I see you hack squat? And that's where we attack it, which to me is a much more fundamentally sound way to approach things.
Mhm.
But I'm also 41 years old, so I get it. So, you know, life and time and experience taught me that. Maybe I was a little bit more young, cocky, and arrogant when I was in my 20s, but I even want to believe then that like I was so hungry for knowledge that I didn't just write people off based upon shortcomings that I may have potentially saw. Because I'm like, oh, I've always had this thought process of like, if someone's bigger, what can I learn from that? Doesn't look textbook. Why is that squat that way or that leg press or that bench press? Like, why is he doing that? Like, I always want to say, well, why do you do that? As opposed to that's wrong.
Yeah,
It's a weird world we live in now.
it is.
Right.
It really is. I mean, I feel like I'm super lucky for the first person the first time I ever got a personal trainer
Mhm.
outside of like I had lifting in high school, but
Right.
like the first personal trainer is a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have any bullshit from day one,
Yes.
you know, and it wasn't like I was seeing him every fucking day, but he, dropped some fucking gems of advice on me at like when I was young, and that definitely helped me out a ton, you know. And then I've had great guidance, obviously, from you, and I didn't live in the like, obviously, like I had access to the internet, but I wasn't just like browsing for ways to make bodybuilding easy because I learned from day one what bodybuilding was never going to be easy, and it's just like, all right, cool.
That,
I'm
that
going
is
to
something
stick with
like,
this and I'm going to make it what I'm going to do, and if it doesn't turn out like cool, this is not there's no expectation from me on the other side.
yeah,
There was no like, oh, if I don't do this, I don't turn pro, if I, I'm not a good bodybuilder, I'm just gonna hang it up. I was like, I enjoy the fuck out of this and I get the enjoyment of doing this. And that's the reward.
yeah, yeah,
My reward, I would never went into this being like, hey, I want to have a pro card or I want to be a professional bodybuilder. Those words have never been spoken.
mm-mm, no,
It does. I cool. How can I be a better bodybuilder? Tell me what I need to do. Let's be a better bodybuilder,
yeah,
and
yeah,
let's go from there.
yeah. Something I felt like I always impressed upon you, especially once we started to achieve some success in terms of growth together. This is great, but just know it's going to get harder because the more muscle you put on, the harder it is going to be, right? Like you have to do all the things in bodybuilding to force growth on something that is a very unnatural thing for guys like you and I with the genetics we have, right? Like we're going to have to eat more food than you're comfortable with. You're going to have to train in places that you think are hard now. You're going to be light years above it if you get to where I believe you can. And I try to do my best to warn guys and girls of that because if you're prepared for it, cool. That's what he told me would happen. Yeah. And I never want to send you off into the abyss to try to discover that. You don't know why? Because I learned that the hard way. I thought it was
Mhm.
going to be way easier than it was. And I still get questions like this, like, Chris, like, how many years did it take you to get to the size you are? I'm like, 21. Were those 21 years perfect? Absolutely not. But the current sum of me now is 21 years of work. And that's overwhelming to say to a 20-year-old or 18 or shit, even to a lot of 25, 30-year-olds, right? Like,
Mhm.
they're like, oh, fuck. I'm like, I always go back to this. Like, I try to tell people, like, they're like, oh, Nick Walker had it fast. It took him 10 years to turn pro. 10. And that dude's won an Arnold. He's finished top three at the Olympia, 10 years to turn pro. Where
Mhm.
now it's like, unless you're in fit model or bikini or you have incredible genetics, it doesn't happen in a year or 2 years. Like those are outliers that you cannot base your thought process or mindset off of. I need everyone to think back and look at John's like early pictures in his 20s. It took him to his masters to turn pro at Team Universe. And that's the dude who was 5'5", over 220 and peeled. Perspective.
Yeah.
I always say like the thing I learned watching him the most compete from a competitive standpoint is as long as you just keep your head down and keep doing the right thing, eventually it's going to happen. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be times where you finish second when you shouldn't. There's going to be times when you finish fifth and you shouldn't. But if what draws you back to the gym is training and eating, you're going to do that either way. So who gives a fuck? Like, as I've told you countless times, If you win or place last, we're still going to have our ass in the gym the next day training and eating our meals. Doesn't matter. Because
Yeah.
if you're a pro, guess what? We got serious work to do. If you lose, guess what? We got serious work to turn pro. Like, it's the same shit. Unless you quit, that's the only thing the way that changes what we do the day after.
Yeah.
So I think we'll end there.
That's
Be smart,
perfect.
work hard, choose the difficult route, or the more intelligent route is the difficult route. That's probably the way to end that. All
Yep.
right, guys, we'll see you next week.